Coming to you live and direct from Now Valley Entertainment.
What's up, boxing fans? TBE back at you again. All right, so right now it's around 4:02 a.m. Sunday morning, April 23rd. You know, both fights, the Jermell Charlo and Charles Hatley and the Andre Berto Sean Porter fight is now in the history books. Uh, So right now I'm gonna do two post fight interviews. So this is a twofer. You're getting two post fight interviews in one. Two post fight reactions in one. So I'm gonna talk about both fights. First, we're gonna talk about the Charlo and Hatley fight. All right. So basically, both fights went almost exactly as I predicted. I predicted that the Charlo Hatley fight wouldn't go past the six. And I also predicted that the Porter Berto fight wouldn't go past 8 or 9. 8 or 9, it would go about the 8 or 9th round. And they're both basically exactly as I predicted. You know, you can see my predictions in on my channel where I talked about the Charles Hatley and the Charlo, and where I also spoke about the Berto and the Porter. All right, so let's start off with the Charlo Hatley fight. Uh, Although the fight went pretty much as I predicted, there was a couple of things that I noticed, you know, that kind of not surprised me, but impressed me about Hatley. You know, even though I said that I wasn't very much impressed with his skills of what I saw so far of him, you know, when I made my prediction, there were some things that he did in the ring that surprised me, and I'm not sure if it's what he did so much or if it's what Charlo did. You know, and what I mean by that is that there are some things that Hatley was doing that Charlo shouldn't have permitted him to do. Okay. And I'm gonna, you know, but then again, like I said, it, Hatley did a couple of impressive things in there, even though the fight went as I predicted, and he got knocked out by the sixth round. All right, the first thing was that ring generalship. Hatley has decent ring generalship, and what I mean by that is that, you know, better than I thought that he would have. And what I mean by that is that if you notice, he kept establishing himself in the center of the ring throughout the whole fight. And I mean, it was he pretty much kept to the center of the ring more than he should have, or more than Charlo should have never let him establish himself that way. So that's more on Charlo than it is on Hatley. But Hatley did do that. He did establish himself in the center of the ring. You know, he took up a lot of real estate of the ring, and he operated from the center of the ring most of the times. Okay, you know, that's a good sign. That's a sign of a decent fighter when you can do that. Okay, number two, his offense, uh, you know, was a lot better than I thought it would have been. Now, I never really had a knock on his offense, but I just thought that he got hit too easily, and which he does get hit easily, and that was shown in this fight. But I noticed that when he came out in this fight, you know, he had a high guard the whole fight. I don't know who told him. I never seen him do that before in any of his fights. His guard was never that high in any of his fights that I've seen him previously. And like I said, I haven't really seen him that many fights before. So, you know, I hadn't much to go on. But from what I saw, like I told you, I wasn't impressed with him. But this fight, he did establish a high guard. So whoever told him to do that, or whichever trainer made him do that, that was a good call. It made him last a little longer than he would have lasted normally, and it kind of kept him a little bit safe, and so he was able to last the whole six rounds. So he established a high guard, and he established himself in the center of the ring. Kept up the real estate, and his offense was pretty good, actually. Okay, I mean his major weakness, as far as I can see, is defense, and that's what I said in my prediction. He gets hit too easily, and the high guard kind of prevented him getting hurt, getting hit. In the previous rounds, but it didn't last. So those things, I got to give him credit for, even though he lost the fight as predicted, and in the round predicted, he did do some good things in the ring. And like I said, he established himself in the center of the ring. Uh, his offense was pretty good, okay, and he kept a high guard, and he was disciplined in doing that. He kept it up. But as you saw, and when in the sixth round, when Charlo came out and started putting the pressure on him, started trading punches with him. Actually, just started throwing punches in bunches, and Hatley, instead of backing off and getting on his bicycle, he stood there and tried to trade with Charlo, which was a big mistake. Okay, big, huge mistake. Should never done that. He should have just he didn't want to give up in the ring real estate. He just wanted to establish himself there in the ring, which is good, when you can do that, but you have to do it effectively. You can't just stand in the middle of the ring and get punched. I mean, that's, establishing yourself in the middle of the ring is good, but don't stand there and get punched and try to trade with somebody like Charlo when you see that, like Charlo, like he outweighed him by 20, 30 pounds, it seems like, so he was a lot bigger. So you're gonna stand there and try to trade with a guy who's 20 pounds heavier than you. That's not a smart move. So he should have, when Charlo started coming out like that, he should have Hatley should have just started moving. And he didn't do that. He just stood there and tried to trade with Charlo, which was a big mistake. And we all saw the result of that. Okay. Well, it was bound to happen. Okay. Now, and, from Charlo's point of view, uh, you know, again, the way Hatley was able to establish himself in the ring, doesn't look good for Charlo. Okay, and Charlo did touch. Hatley did touch Charlo a couple of times there with especially with the jab. Okay, and didn't look too good for Charlo with that, but at the end of the day, Charlo did what he had to do. But you can see that against more established fighters, like more elite fighters, he might have some problems, defensively. Okay, and because you saw that there were times when Hatley actually backed Charlo up. He was backing him up, which was a little bit surprising considering the size and like what I mean is that Charlo didn't impose himself as he could have, like he did in the sixth round. He could have done that earlier. Or he should have done it earlier. Okay, why he didn't, I don't know. Again, maybe he was a little bit weary, wary of Hatley, and Hatley, like I said, was putting up a pretty smart fight up until the sixth round, where he kept his guard high, he kept establishing himself in the middle of the ring, and his offense was decent. Okay, so he did some good things in there. So I'm not gonna dismiss him totally. I think that he has some skills, and he will start the fundamentals. Whoever taught him the fundamentals did a decent job in that, but it's just that he's not at the level of say the elite fighters, like I established in my prediction video. And I think his major weakness is defense. Okay, he needs to really tighten up his defense, and his chin is a little weak. So you definitely have to have good defense if you have a weak chin. So I mean, he's still got a career in boxing, I think. But at a lower level, you need to do some, establish some. He has the basic fundamentals down, and you can work on that. Okay, he can develop a good defense, better defense. More technical aspect of the game in terms of defense. In terms of offense, he's pretty good, but defense, he need a major work on his defense. And now, as I said, Charlo, he did what he had to do, but he could have got Hatley out there earlier. If he had done what he was supposed to do earlier. And like I said, Hatley was able to back him up a couple of times there. Which happens. I mean, in fight. But the thing is that the way his ring generalship, I think, could be improved. Okay, and defensively, he could be improved as well. He can do better. He can do better on the defense. Okay, because if he was in there against a top fighter like say a Book or somebody like that, he'd be in trouble, serious trouble. Okay, and but overall, it was a decent fight. Both fighters did pretty good, but the fight, like I said, basically ended the way I predicted it would end. Hatley got stopped in the sixth round, and that was that. All right, let's talk about the Berto Porter fight. Again, this fight went basically as I predicted it would go. Berto, like I said, if Berto came in there, you never know what you're getting with Berto in these fights, or in his last couple of fights, and this fight was no different. Okay, he basically, he came in there, couldn't, didn't really establish a jab. And if you're gonna fight against a fighter like Porter, you have to establish a jab. You have to have a jab. I mean, you just can't go in there unless you're gonna fight the same style as Porter fights, and that's not the style that you know that Berto has. It's not a Porter style. I mean, Berto is a fighter that has to fight coming forward, and but it's not a Porter's type of coming forward style. It's a different type of style. Okay, it's a boxing coming forward style, not a puncher slugger coming forward style. So when you have Porter having the most effective jab, in a fight like that, based on the kind of style that Porter have, you're gonna be in trouble. Okay, Berto's jab was totally absent from this fight. He didn't establish any jab at all, which is a big problem when you have a guy like Porter who comes in the way he does. So that was the first thing. Okay. Second thing, Berto cannot fight going backwards. Okay, I mean, like I said in my prediction video, I don't know, his balance doesn't seem to be very good, and the same, it basically was proven in this fight, and when he had to go backwards, he really couldn't. Uh, he wasn't effective at all. Okay, the only time he was effective in this fight was when he was trying to come forward. But when Porter kept pushing him back, he couldn't fight going backwards. And Porter didn't give him much room to fight, so he wasn't very effective at all. Okay, and so when you look at this fight and you see the way Porter fights, and you saw the way he was handled by Book, then you understand, how good Book is and how Book really handled Porter the way he should be handled in the fight. Because in this fight, I mean, Porter was coming in forward, head button, you know, which is Porter. That's Porter. That's I mean, in terms of the style, the way he fights, he's a come forward type of style, the winging punches, like I said in my prediction video, and that's his style. So as a fighter, it's up to you to negate that, okay? And for all the talk about Book holding, he did exactly what he needed to do to negate the style of Porter. Just like how Porter did exactly what he needed to do to negate the style of Berto, by coming in and winging and, throwing a few headbutts in there and a couple of elbows and, he did what he had to do. So this is, that this is how Porter fights. So the way Book fought him was the effective way to fight Porter, and again, Book laid out the blueprint on how to beat Porter. Okay, you can't let Porter just come in and wing punches and do what he want to do. You have to establish a jab. Crisp punching, counter punching, movement. Put all that together, and you can beat Porter. And like I said in my prediction video, unless Berto can do those type of things, he was gonna get stopped, and he did get stopped. Okay, and he couldn't, like I said, I didn't see him. I couldn't see him putting it all together like Book did. The book, even though Book laid out the blueprint, you know, I didn't see Berto being able to take up that blueprint and work from it, and he couldn't. Because he did a couple of things, like I say, he didn't really do. He didn't establish a jab. He didn't have his good movement because his balance is gone. His legs are gone, I think. And you know, so all that showed in this fight, basically. That Berto, he's just, I don't know. I guess maybe it's his time is up in the ring. I mean, he can still fight a little, but against a guy like Porter, he's gonna have problems. People that come forward and maul you on that type of fight style. He's gonna have a problem with it because he can't fight going backwards. You know. So shout out to all the fighters tonight. They did pretty good jobs. Congratulations to the winners. Okay, uh, great fights. And now we see that that Porter is gonna fight Thurman again. Uh, well, I don't know if it's gonna be any difference in this fight than it was in the first fight. And I think that if they fight again, I think that Thurman is going to fight a different fight. I mean, Porter's always going to fight the same kind of fight because that's his style. Come forward, winging punches and all that. But if Thurman is smart, he'll fight a different type of fight this time against Porter than he did last time. He'll fight more like Book did, because that's the way to fight against a guy like Porter. You know. So I mean, I hear a lot of talk. Because Derek James, is the one that trained Charlo for this fight, and I hear a lot of talk about. I hear some people whispering about, oh yeah, Book is gonna be in trouble. You saw what Charlo did. He's getting trained by Derek James. Blah blah blah. This, I'm gonna tell you people right now again, and you should take a page from the book of these both fights that I predicted. Errol Spence is not ready for Kell Book, and believe what I'm telling you. Okay, listen to what I'm telling you. Book is the type of fighter that Errol Spence is gonna have problems with. Okay, it's not gonna be what you think it's gonna be. I'm telling you again. I predicted in these two fights. I'm saying to you that Book is gonna stop Spence more than likely. Around the 8th, 9th, 10th, or 11th round, he's gonna get stopped. Okay, so all you people out there thinking that because Charlo beat Hatley, and Book is not Hatley. And I don't think Charlo can beat Book. Okay, so you need to, you people need to just slow your roll. Now I heard that you know I heard that Porter's father is going over to England to advise Spence on the fight against Book. Now the question I have about that is this: what is he going to advise him? How to lose? I mean, he couldn't advise his own fighter how to beat Book. So how is he going to advise Spence how to beat Book? I mean, yeah, granted, his fighter have a different style than Spence. Probably probably maybe a more effective style in a fight against Book, but I don't think so. You know, I think that the style that Book has, I mean the style that Porter has, you know, is a great style against most fighters. But it's just certain fighters you can't use that style against. technical fighters like Book, who are highly technical fighters, it's going to be tough to beat them with that type of style. Again, I'm telling you, skill pays the bills. Okay, so I don't know what is it that and from what I've been hearing, from Porter's dad, about the fight with Book and Porter, always making excuses, about holding. He's all talking about, oh, you would, what are you talking about, holding? I mean, it wasn't the holding that won Book the fight; it was the punches. Okay, the holding he did when the clinches was when there's nothing wrong with clinching. People clinch in every fight. It's a matter of you have to do what's effective to win a fight, and Book did what was effective to win the fight against Porter. He clinched when he had to clinch, and he punched when he had to punch, and he back when he had to back, and he moved when he had to move. So I don't know what is it that he's gonna be advising. What he's gonna advise Spence how to stop Book from holding. That's not because that's the reason he's using all the time why Spence lost. Now there's nothing worse than a sore loser, okay, and to me both even though I have a lot of respect for Porter, like I say in all my fight videos, I always talk about Porter's skill, that he's an elite fighter, but I see that he's kind of a sore loser. I'm not sure if it's him really, or if he's just supporting his dad. I think his dad is more the sore loser than he is, and he just don't want to go against his dad. I don't know, but there's nothing worse than a sore loser, man. When you lose a fight, man, just say just accept the fact. Like I said before, Porter losing against Book didn't take any shine away from Porter. I mean, when I saw that fight with Porter and Book, even though Porter lost the fight, I still had a lot of respect for Porter because he fought a pretty good fight, and I liked the way he fought. He gave it his all. So he didn't lose any respect from me because of that, because of him losing the fight. He still established how good of a fighter he really was, but he just wasn't good enough or had the technical ability to beat Book. I mean, so when you get beaten by a superior fighter for that night, then just accept the loss and stop making excuses. So if Favre is going around talking, oh yeah, you gotta watch out for the holding and this whole, it's all bullshit, man. It's just sore losing, man. You lost the fight, man. Just accept the fact that you lost the fight. Okay, stop making excuses, about holding. So I wouldn't want that type of person to advise me in any fight. So I don't know what is it that he's gonna be advising Spence. I don't think, there's anything that he can add, to Spence to make him more effective against Book. I just don't see it, because what he's going to tell Spence, how to stop Book from holding? I mean, come on, you know. So I would think that Spence, needs to just, I think Spence would, I don't know if he's paying him to do that or what he's doing. If I was him, I'd save my money, because I don't think that anything that Porter's father is going to say is going to make it any easier for him to win against Book, because like I said, if you can't advise your own son on how to beat Book, how are you going to advise somebody else? I don't see it. Okay, so I just think that it in a way, it just kind of shows you how desperate Spence's camp is, because I think they come into the realization, the closer the fight get, that it's not going to be as easy as people are saying it is, and what they thought it was going to be. Book is not going to just roll over, and it's going to be a tough fight, the toughest fight. There's no doubt it's going to be the toughest fight of Spence's career. And again, I'll keep telling people, Spence more than likely is going to get stopped in this fight, and you better believe that. Okay, Book is going to be an animal in that ring. Okay, and he got the type of style that's going to give Spence a lot of problems, because again, not that Spence is not good. Spence is a pretty good fighter for where he is at this point in his career, but he's just not ready. He doesn't have the experience and even the skill set to be able to beat a Book. I just don't see it. I don't care about all these talk about sparring and all of this, because it seems like he's the undisputed sparring champion of the world. you know, and you know he done beat everybody in sparring. He probably beat Mike Tyson in sparring. That's probably you're probably gonna hear that next. He dropped Mike Tyson in sparring. You know, I mean, I got a lot of respect for Spence. You know, I like the kid. I like his old demeanor. You know, he's a respectful guy. You know, a very likable guy. He has good, decent skills at this point in his career. But he's just not ready for book. It's just that simple. It's not about hate or nothing like that, or you know, it's not about haterade or none of that. You know, it's just just looking at the thing objectively and seeing it for what it is. You know what I mean? I mean, most of the guys that Spence fights that he has fought so far was just not of the caliber of a book, and you know, book is just a different type of fighter. I don't it's easy to I mean people talking about the body shots and this. Yeah, okay, so you can do body shots. You can go in there and rip body shots against people like Algeria and Bundu and all these other fighters, who basically you can overwhelm them. But what's going to happen when you can't overwhelm a fighter? When you can't just go in and wing body shots at will, because when you're trying to go in and wing a body shot, you're going to be eating a right hand or a left hook or a uppercut. What are you going to do then? It's not it's not about just going in there and winging body shots. It's easy to do that against fighters who you can overwhelm. When you can just muscle yourself in there, but when you can't do that, what are you going to do then? So this is what it is. So we're going to see it. But again, enough about that. Again, congratulations to Charlo. Congratulations to Porter. Great fights. Uh, you know, and I'm looking forward to the Book Spence fight, which I think again, like I said, is going to be, another stoppage. Late in the later rounds. Uh, Book is going to stop Spence, and that's how I see it. So before I go, I'm going to say one more thing. If Porter's father contention is that the reason why his fighter, Porter lost against Book is because of holding, then he had nothing to advise Spence about because he's not being honest. If he was to be honest, then he couldn't give Spence some advice. But if his whole contention is that Porter lost because Book held him, then there's nothing he can tell Spence, and Spence needs to just leave him at home, where he belongs, because he's not going to gain anything from taking any advice from somebody that's not going to be honest about what type of advice he's giving a fighter. And that's all I got to say. I'm out. This is Tbe Boxing signing off, and I'll see you on the next one. I'm out.